You're listening to the Youth Critic podcast on KHZ Network. Find us on Facebook at DecibelUNG Radio and find us on Twitter at DecibelUNG. If you like this episode, please leave a like and comment on our iTunes page at KHZ Network. And now for the podcast.
I can show you around.
That'd be great. Thank you. So what do you do around here?
Read books, transcribe music, swim at the river, go out at night.
Sounds fun. All right, later.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Critic podcast. I am your host, Cale Smith. Joining me today is Matt St.Clair.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. And today we are going to be talking about Call Me By Your Name and I, Tonya. Two of some of the really good movies of this year, or last year, I guess. As some of you may know, we're still at the Youth Critic and KHZ Network. We're trying to catch up on reviewing some more of 2017's latest movies, especially stuff that just came to Atlanta recently. So we're going to continue on until about another week, and then we'll finally get into the Paddington 2s, the Insidious 4s. That we're going to get into the 2018 movies next week. But for now, it's just Matt and I reviewing the Call Me By Your Name and I, Tonya. So starting things off, Matt, what did you think of Call Me By Your Name?
Oh, well, anyone who follows me closely on Twitter knows how much I've been anticipating it, and also how much I absolutely loved it. It was. I've been pretty concrete about how much I love this film on either on a blog post or on my Twitter feed, but it's still the best film I've seen from last year, and I'm still playing catch up, seeing things like The Post and Darkest Hour and even I'm gonna be seeing Phantom Thread pretty soon. So even the films I've seen from last year after Calling It By Your Name, if I've seen them this year, they still haven't topped it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to text me when you see Phantom Thread, because I want to know your thoughts. But for now, I was anticipating Call Me By Your Name since I heard about it from Sundance almost a year ago, and I finally got to see the movie 3 weeks ago after Christmas, and because it just took forever to come here in Atlanta, where I live, or where I go and see the smaller award contenders. And yeah, I think it's excellent. It's an excellently well-made movie. I wouldn't say it's my best movie of the year, but it is, or my favorite movie of the year. Excellent tour de force of a romance film for me, of a romance drama.
But to me, it's just absolute perfection. It's perfect right down to the dance sequence in the first act of the film. Even the opening line of the song "Love My Way" that starts playing is, "There's an army on the dance floor."
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and even the song choices here are fantastic. I mean, you have, I might be butchering this name, but I think it's Stefan Stevens who does a lot of the songs in the movie.
Sufjan. I think it's Sufjan Stevens.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
It's fine. I will probably end up butchering a couple names on this show anyway. But yeah, this were fantastic. I thought the mood and the chemistry of the actors were fantastic. I thought it was a very well-made movie, and in the end I was feeling for Elio in not in his kind of like loss. I mean, not in a like deathly loss, but in what he loses in, Oliver at the end of this relationship or the end of this kind of affair,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah, it left me pretty. Yep, the day after I saw it and thought of how their relationship ended, I was this time like, why? I wanted their summer to last forever.
Yeah, and you want it to, but it's a movie about where the enemy is time. It's like that's the only enemy. I mean, is in a film where in most movies romances are there's always some enemy, either rather that be a physical or a societal thing, and this is just time. It's just the time of that they have together. They only have 6 weeks together, and they only realize of their love, Elio and Oliver, they only realize that they're really meant for each other like halfway through the whole experience, halfway through his summer class, whatever,
Yeah.
summer retreat.
Yeah, exactly.
But what other thoughts did you have, Matt, on the movie? I've been kind of blabbling.
Well, that's okay. Well, there's Michael Stuhlbarg.
Oh yeah, perfect.
That monologue. That is what had what nearly had the man tears streaming down my face.
Yeah, I mean, not to. I mean, I guess we can go a little bit into spoilers, but the movie ends on this kind of 1-2 punch of not only Stolberg's monologue, but also it ends, in winter with Elio and his family getting a call from Oliver, and Oliver saying he's engaged.
Yeah.
And you just feel for Elio as he's sitting,
staring at the fireplace.
Mm-hmm. Kind of mourning his loss.
Yep, I feel like in that. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I feel like in that final shot, he's both mourning his loss, yet also with that sly smile, you could tell that he still cherishes those fond memories that he had with Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when Timothée Chalamet will likely get Oscar nominated, I feel like that's going to be his Oscar clip for sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, just that little clip of him. I mean, it's a little spoiler-ish for people that haven't seen it, but still, it's like it just showcases his acting in that final shot of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because and I mean, I would go. I mean, I would like to see the Michael Stolberg clip, but then again, you would only do that if Michael Stolberg got nominated. But
which is gonna be tricky because as great as he is in that one scene, for the most part, it's a background character.
It is. I mean, he's kind of just he's a minor character, and him and his wife are minor characters in this piece. They're just kind of like they're kind of mild instigators because they brought Oliver along on their summer retreat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tricky. It would be, but it's still like, I mean, Michael Stolberg giving a really good performance. So
and yeah, he's also been in practically everything this year.
He's been in
The Post and Shape of Water, Fargo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's climbing up. I mean, he's staying in there.
Yeah. But I think if any, because I think only one supporting actor is going to be in it, is going to get nominated. I think between him and Army Hammer, it's probably going to be Army Hammer, which will be fine with me. Because it's the best work that he's. To me, that's the best work he's done so far.
Yeah, I agree. Because he's dealing with a complicated he's dealing with complicated emotions inside himself too. Because he is attracted. Doesn't want to He doesn't want to
cross any boundaries.
Yeah, he doesn't want to cross boundaries or hurt Elio. So
yeah, that's why during the scene where Elio meets Oliver after Elio's first time, you could tell when you see a look at Oliver's face, you could tell that he's thrilled about how they consummated their relationship, but still conflicted over whether or not, still feeling conflicted about it because he doesn't want Elio to feel any regret about that, right?
Right. Not only did not have any regret, but feel he was forced into it, or feel like he was pressured, or any of that, any of the pressures that you would if you were in the recessive position that assuming that Ilya was in. Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit. So I think we have to talk about the director of this movie. I think he.
Of course. So Luca Guadagnino, I feel like it's weird that he's not getting buzz about as much because he's the one that crafted this whole masterpiece. And one of the reasons that the chemistry between the two actors is so rich is because of the way that Luca directs them both.
Yeah. Well, he's basically forcing the camera to just kind of be like a point of view rather than be a character. Like you're just following these characters in their relationship. Like he's just kind of allowing the situation to progress rather than work, quick editing cuts and flashy directing. He's just trying to let the story kind of progress as its own. He's just filming the story as it's told.
He even lets the cinematography do most of the storytelling. Because one thing that is often brought up is the significance of words and how the Elio and Oliver don't use words to express their relationship, but the relationship that they develop is demonstrated through the camera, like the way that Oliver places his hand on Elio's shoulder, the way that they hold hands with. Well, one of them holds a cigarette.
Through the actions. Yeah, it's incredible use of visual imagery, and and also it's impeccable to the screenplay as well, because now because the actors they're talking, but they're not like it's about the relationship.
Right.
The dialogue is subtly like bringing them closer, but in a natural way.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed. I really like this movie a lot, and the more I talk about it, especially with people who have seen it, I thoroughly enjoy. I thoroughly think about it more, because when I walked out of it, I really liked it, but then I had to rush and see Molly's Game.
It's not a good film to follow. It's not a good It's not a bad follow-up film. That's for sure.
It's not a bad follow-up, but I was like, okay, but I had to rush in there, so I didn't have much time to process it until like later in my day. So it was, but the more I think about it, the more I talk about it, it's really good. I highly recommend this movie. But before we before we move on, what do you think about the Oscar chances for this movie? Because I think you're the one that runs award podcasts, right?
I run the Film Scoop podcast, which isn't strict. It doesn't strictly cover awards, but I do follow the awards race pretty closely.
Okay.
So, well, Best Picture is Best Picture. It's most likely going to get in. And Best Actor for Timothée Chalamet, adapted screenplay. It's definitely going to get in. Either Armie Hammer or Michael Stuhlbarg gets in Best Supporting Actor. Maybe Luca Guadagnino, if there's enough passion votes, he could get in Best Director. Hopefully cinematography and original song for the two songs by Sufjan Stevens, but we'll see.
Yeah. Going to the technical word really quickly to cinematography, it's always tough to be like, what could be the top 5? Like, what could be the 5 cinematography awards that go in? Because there's always more than like 10 great movies that have great cinematography. And so, and of course, this has great cinematography as well. So it's like, I hope this gets in, but then again, there are like 10 other movies that are like, that look just as impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would, but definitely like the top. I would think it would cover all the top categories. I mean, I would hate it for Luca Guadagnino, but it seems like there are 5 other people that probably will have other chances than Luca. So I hope he gets in, but I think he'll do. But if not, it's a co-producer on. Did you hear the last thing I said?
No, I missed that one.
Okay, well, Luca Guadagnino is still a producer, so he'll still get, if he gets a Best Picture nomination, he'll still get nominated, and he'll still be in the game, but it would be kind of sad if he didn't get Best Director or Best Director nom for the Call Me by Your Name.
Oh, it would be nice. I would love it if he got in. I'm not predicting him to get in just because I want to be as realistic as possible, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I'm optimistic, but it's definitely a we'll see on that one. So,
yeah.
Matt, are you ready to move on to? Do you have any more final thoughts on Call Me by Your Name?
Any final thoughts? It's perfection. What can I say? And I would say to the listeners of this podcast, make the effort to see it at the nearest at the closest theater that's playing it. Because I feel like this deserves to be seen.
As I highly recommend it as well. And for you listeners, Call Me by Your Name is going to have another nationwide expansion this weekend, so please check it out. It's at this point it should be everywhere, but I think this weekend it's going to be pretty much out there. So please check it out. Matt and I both highly recommend this movie. And with that, I think we're ready for Tonya.
Yeah.
The haters always say, Tonya, tell the truth. There's no such thing as truth. Everyone has their own truth.
Well, I like Tonya. So, what do you think?
Good question. See, after I saw it, I didn't hate it, but I still didn't like it. Even I still don't like it that much, because here's the thing is, I felt like I had problems with how they took one of the most serious, dramatic media stories of the 1990s and made it seem like such a comedic farce. And also I found it's the way its whole no, you don't know the whole story or the whole sorry. I thought some of its editing choices.
I was not alive during the whole story. Oh.
I thought some of its editing choices, like the actors breaking the fourth wall, got irritating very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, one of my biggest concerns with my biggest initial concern was how the film tries very hard to make Tonya Harding sympathetic. Because, I mean, yeah, it does show how she was a victim of abuse at the hands of her mother and her father. But at the same time,
and her husband.
Or her, sorry, I meant to say her husband. But at the same time, she did play a part in her own downfall.
Yeah, and
even if because the film says how she makes it clear that even if she wasn't aware of the bashing of Nancy's knee, she was aware of a plan to sabotage Nancy.
Yeah, and that's kind of the kicker of it, because it's still like, I think the movie tries to have it both ways, is that it tries to be like, this is what happened, this is the story that we can kind of piece together. It's hard to be it's kind of hard to be objective, because everyone has their own kind of version of the story, but this is like the best version we can kind of be like, it kind of sort of fits, kind of sort of works. And even the characters themselves are very much like their stories are kind of different, or they have different point of views of what happened. So it's kind of hard to have an objective viewpoint, because the only thing we know that really happened is Nancy Kerrigan got her knees bashed in, and it nearly ended her skating career and Tonya Harding's career suffered for it. That's because she had involvement. Her husband had involvement. Like, we just only know what the FBI can basically conclude.
Yeah, all we know is that Nancy had her knee bashed.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much all we know. But after
and that's all the film can be subjective of.
Yeah, and admittedly, as I began to think more, and as I thought more and more about the film after I saw it, I realized that the film's main objective is simply to tell us Tonya Harding's story and let us decide whether we really were too harsh on her, or whether she rightly suffered the repercussions of her downfall, or of her. Yeah. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, and
because it does, because even though it does show even if it does show that she paid the price for her involvement, at the same, while she was being unfair to herself with her involvement in the scandal, at the same time the film does show how everyone around her was unfair to her. Even the judges were unfair to her, because even if she was the best figure skater and was even the first American skater to complete the triple axel, mostly giving her low scores because they hated her as a person, because they didn't like how she was against the whole cookie cutter, clean, wholesome figure skater image that they kept trying to promote, because she always liked to design her own dresses and skate to ZZ Top, smoke cigarettes. She was everything that Nancy Kerrigan wasn't. But even though Tonya Harding was the better skater, another difference between Tonya and Nancy is how is not only how aggressive how Tonya Harding just had her work ethic, but even if Nancy Kerrigan had her skating career taken away from her, she still had her privilege. But all Tonya Harding had was her skating.
Yeah.
So that's one way. That's one possible reason that we could side more with Tonya on this whole thing. Sorry, it seems like I was rambling.
No, actually, no, you're good. For the character Tonya Harding in the story, the thing with her is that the way that the movie portrays her as is be Nancy Kerrigan. She wasn't brought up that way. She had essentially what I call the David O. Russell dysfunctional family.
Mm-hmm.
And where everyone is screaming and yelling at each other or abusing each other, and that's, and it kind of, created this, attitude about her that, that was like, I must have it now. I have to be on top of everything. I must be the best. I must be myself, and I must be the best skater, because ultimately I cannot sell I cannot sell that I am essentially a pageant queen. I can't, I'm not, I'm not, some model that's gonna walk down and look pretty. I'm gonna, skate. I'm gonna skate the best of my ability. And that's the Tonya in this movie. And you do feel sympathy for her, because from a broken home, and she did everything right until the moment where she came up to one of the judges in their car and was like, what do I have to do to essentially get a high score, to get in the game? And ultimately,
he says, be more wholesome. We need someone that represents a wholesome American family. And she's like, I don't have a wholesome American family.
And he's like, yeah, too bad.
Well, yeah, if I were her, I would feel very saddened by that, because Tonya Harding she may not be a typical princess skater, but that's not the world she grew up
in. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because she didn't, as I said, she's not one way in which she wasn't Nancy Kerrigan is that she didn't come from a place of privilege like she did. All Tonya Harding had was her skating. Mm-hmm. And she may not be the most likable, have been the most likable personality, but she was the best skater. And I do think it is understandable that she faced consequences for what happened to Nancy. At the same time, she still, so we can understand why she was pissed, why she got frustrated at the world.
Yeah, and
because the world just kept finding ways to kick her down.
Yeah, and that car scene, or the parking garage scene, the pivotal statement of the movie. Yes, there's a couple more morals and themes that are going to happen in the next, other half of the movie. But for me, that's the defining statement of Tonya, is that, that in the sports industry, it doesn't matter how fantastic you are. You can be Muhammad Ali of, skating rings, but if you do not have, the self-image, and if you do not have the, if you cannot be marketable, then you're useless. And because in the end, she asks, why can't it never just be about the skating? And he's like, well, we got to sell you. We have to, there's more. And I think that's kind of the defining statement of the movie, is that, it's not just about, what she has to do. she has to fit into a cycle. She has to fit into a stereotype in order to get in. She has to fit in with what society wants out of her in order to continue to doing what she wants. And that's where the cycle of abuse continues, because she was never going to have, a relationship with her mother. And the only other thing she had going for her was her husband Jim. Jeff. Need to keep up Wikipedia on me. Her husband Jeff, and that was it. So, and she gets him back in the cycle of abuse, even though he was more abusive and had a part in the whole Nancy Kerrigan thing. So it's like, no matter what she did, the movie's idea is no matter what she would have done, she would have never made it. And if she did, she was damned if she don't. And that's the idea, and that's kind of why I like the movie. But the thing is, I don't really love it because there's nothing really special after that message. There's, you just get to see a reenactment of the Nancy Kerrigan thing, and then the rest is you can pretty much figure out how it's going to go.
Yeah. And also, I think one major flaw that the film has is that it doesn't give us much of Nancy Kerrigan, other than the famous other than the incident, and where she's like, why?
And we barely see her face.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know the film is called I, Tonya, but I think if they had shown us more of Nancy Kerrigan, it would have perfectly demonstrated how she was such a foil to Tonya.
There's a whole scene in the movie where Tonya explains that they were friends, and it's like, why don't we have more of that? She don't have to be a major, have to be a massive character, but we need, we need something to work with. We need something more to work with. We need a little bit more as to like why Tonya believed in, or how Tonya and Jeff came to the conclusion that Nancy may be sending death threats. Because I feel like that was kind of like, wait, you just said you were her friend. You're thinking, but 30 minutes into the movie later, you're like, well, she must be sending me death threats, or they're coming to this conclusion or whatnot. So you're just like, well, wait a minute. So we have this mixed image, or this mixed idea of what Nancy is based off of what Tonya is telling us. So kind of hard to, it's kind of hard to get a read of what we were supposed to get out of Nancy, other than look at this privileged white girl. He could fall on her.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And I think, you're right. I think it's having not Nancy be a little bit more pivotal is a kind of an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. As for the acting, I thought that was quite terrific. Margot, even if I thought the film was uneven, I thought Margot Robbie is still giving a very committed live wire performance.
It is. It is a very committed performance. It is. I mean, has there ever been a performance where she hasn't given her 100% yet after Wolf of Wall Street?
Not that I could think of.
Yeah, because even a terrible movie like Suicide Squad, she's still giving a committed performance. She's still committing to her role.
Oh, she's easily one of the best things about it.
Yeah. So, and I just love how she's just building her brand as like, I'm going to, take on these, strong, or these kind of, female icon roles to kind of build the image of, of women up, have a stronger voice for women in film. And yeah, but anyway, but yeah, I really liked her performance, and I even liked Allison Janney. I really thought she did.
Yeah, I thought she was kind of one note, but but
Oh,
still,
yeah.
no, honestly, as I said before on my podcast, I actually thought Julianne Nicholson gave the better supporting performance because I thought she was more nuanced as Tanya's lifelong trainer, Diane, bringing
Yeah.
in elements of sly humor
Yes.
and
Yeah.
grace.
Don't get much of her either.
Right.
We don't get, and that's kind of the sad part. We don't get much of her, even though she's really good. Like, she has the right amount of humor. She's there for Tanya in her worst moments, but she's not that big of a pivotal in the movie. So, but yeah. What do you think of Sebastian Stan or Bucky Barnes?
I really liked him. I think it's the best work that he's ever done. And even though I think he's super sexy, I felt very ashamed to be so attracted to him in this film because he plays such an abusive piece of crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he did an amazing job at playing such a piece of crap.
He did, and he plays into that that kind of toxic masculinity / also, like, he is a little threatened by Tanya's assertiveness. And Tanya's like just strong will, and he's definitely afraid of it, and it's and Sebastian plays it well because he goes from the angry abusive to into he acts almost like like a man child.
Yeah.
Apologetic man child. It's weird and creepy and eerie, but it's great. But it's a great performance, even though you're feeling Shormy while you're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But but I think we have to talk about the Oscar chances of this movie, because I don't think it's as great as Call Me by Your Name.
Oh, definitely not. Oh, well, I think as for Oscar chances, well, Margot Robbie and Allison Janney, definitely. And I think Allison Janney is out in front to win Best Supporting Actress, which makes me sad for Laurie Metcalf and Lady Bird.
I agree. Lady Metcalf gave the better performance.
And maybe original screenplay and probably editing, just because it's so flashy. And picture, I think it's have it as a number 9 or 10. But I think that's it. Just the acting, and then maybe picture, editing, and screenplay, and maybe makeup if it made the short list. It might have. I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But yeah, I just don't think it will do. I don't think it'll make as big of a splash as everyone thought it did or everyone thought it would at Toronto.
Well, the humor.
What?
Sorry, I was gonna say the humor is very rough. So I don't know how well voters are gonna respond to its rough brand of humor, especially even the scenes of domestic abuse that are, to me, are very quite poorly handled.
Well, they kind of lack they lack momentum, or they lack a sense of
Well, I just think
they lack the punch that they're trying to hit.
I just don't think there's any need to make scenes like those colorful. because they involve montage of retro music, and even Tonya breaking the fourth wall as her face is getting bashed into a mirror. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Even if it wasn't the intention, even if its intention wasn't to be humorous, still that just made me, that just left a yeah.
It's not in good taste. Not in good taste, but there's a part of, but here's the kind of paradox is to feel, is it meant to be in bad taste so you feel something, or is it just in bad taste because it's in bad taste? Like, that's kind of the paradox. I'm like, well, it's meant to be in bad taste, but how far is it in bad taste? That's I don't know. I have those questions popping in my head all the time. And I never have the answer to them. I never have an answer to them, right or wrong.
One question I have for you is, which one did you like more, this or 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri? Because one thing I've noticed is how there are people that like 3 Billboards but hate I, Tonya, and vice versa. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are.
I'm in the middle, if you can believe it. Like, I kind of like them both the same. Like, they both have issues of how they handle their subject matter. Like, like 3 Billboards is, in its own way, it is a feminist picture about a woman who has had enough and is gonna do everything she can to get to light a fire up everyone's ass until they find the person who killed her daughter. And it's a great movie in that context, but in the same have Sam Rockwell being a horrible son of a bitch. I mean, just a horrible person. And in the end, he has like a very quick redemptive arc. And then the two of them and then Rockwell and McDormand both, get in a car together in a way that it's not 100% believable.
Right.
And then, and then I, Tonya is a story about, the struggle of, being stuck in the cycle of abuse because society wants you to be with, demands you to be with your husband, even if abusive or not, depending on what the story is. And, and it's about like, the problematic of, of that cycle, the problematic of, trying to market a wholesome ideal when it doesn't exist. And that's what I, Tonya is. But like I said, but as we were discussing, it's still flawed. Doesn't reach the potential of that idea. So to answer your question, Matt, it's both, but but they're both flawed movies, and I don't think either of them deserve to win Best Picture. I think there are other movies that came out this year that are more deserving.
I would agree with you there. I mean, I think Tanya's flawed. I think 3 Billboards is very flawed. But I feel like I like this one a bit more.
Yeah.
It feels like it had something more to say. And I mean, 3 Billboards try to talk about important subject matter, but it does so in a more tone deaf manner.
Mm-hmm. In not only a tone deaf, but in a very outsider, like, well, not necessarily outsider, but just like you're only getting a point of view that's not completely, that doesn't really work, that's into all the problems.
Uh,
Mm.
so
But yeah,
and I know that my thoughts on how it depicts the story of Tanya Harding may seem a bit unclear because at first I said that that the film tries very hard to make Tanya Harding sympathetic, and now I'm like, maybe we were too harsh on her now that we know what her story was like. Even if she rightly suffered consequences for her actions.
well, I mean, like I said, she was damn, like, that car scene is so pivotal because it's a statement in saying, it's a perfect statement of saying she was, always going to be damned no matter what. So,
Yeah.
So
because she wasn't as privileged as her fellow skaters, so she's only going by what she knows.
yeah. Well, I mean, she's only going by, she's only going by not only what she knows, but she's going by with what she has at her disposal. Because everyone else, has, $5,000 dresses, or they have, or outfits to skate in. Everyone has, brings, like classical, music to skate to. Whereas she wanted to break barriers. She wanted to do her own thing, and no one kept pushing her out because she was trying to do too many new things. She was
So even after I record this podcast, I might not still have a concrete answer as to how I feel, but even if I still think it's a flawed film, even if I still think it's a flawed film, it's still not a terrible film. And I do admire how it tries very hard to be an unconventional biopic, even if it does end up being misguided at times. But it's still salvaged by the great performance by Margot Robbie.
It is, and it's. I mean, that's the thing I will always praise about I, Tonya is Margot Robbie just giving her 100% to the role. Like, she is a committed actress, and that's what I'll always take away is that she really gave her best to represent Harding in the best in possibly could.
Yeah.
And it's just. Yeah, and I think and maybe if they would have had a different director, like I did mention earlier, director David O. Russell, or maybe even the Coens, that can deal with this kind of humor. Maybe it would have been a little. I've been hearing the Coens, and I thought about it, and I was like, maybe this could work because there's, wacky characters, and the story is pretty, it's pretty much. I mean, when you think about it, it's this crazy, it's this crazy story that can feel like a small town story that, that feels like, kind of world breaking. But yeah, I don't know if it was. I would just say, maybe Greg Gillespie wasn't the right choice, but everyone involved in I, Tonya did the best they could. That's my best statement I can say. Everyone did the best they could. Deserves too many Oscar praises, but I think it's a fine, solid movie. And if Tonya Harding deserved it or not, I think she did. I think it was wrong for her to, still have, little involvement in sabotaging Nancy. I still think it's wrong, but I think she was always damned if she did. If no matter what she did, she was damned. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Oh, very.
So,
Oh,
so do you have any more thoughts on I, Tonya?
I think I've said all. I think that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. All right. So, where can the good people find you?
They can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FilmGuy619. And they can also listen to the Film Scoop podcast on SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher Radio.
All right, cool. I will put the links to your podcast below, in the description of the podcast. So Matt, thank you for coming on the show and talking about these two movies with me. For me on Twitter, you can find me at Movie Kale, and you can also follow this podcast at the Youth Critic, and then you can also follow the channel that distributes this podcast at KHC Network. Thank you all for listening. Matt, thank you for coming on for your first time, and we hope
Thanks for having me.
Future. It was great talking to you.
Come back on again.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on. And as far as next week is concerned, Youth Critic listeners, we're just I think we're going to finally do our best of 2017 and also do a most anticipated of 2018 in that same podcast. Matt, before we go, very quickly, just a curveball question: what's your most anticipated movie of 2018?
For me, my most anticipated film of 2018 is Widows. It's a heist thriller directed by Steve McQueen, and which stars Academy Award winner Viola Davis, Cynthia Erivo, Elizabeth Debicki, Michelle Rodriguez, Colin Farrell, Robert Duvall, Liam Neeson, Jackie Weaver, Carrie Coon, Daniel Kaluuya, Andre Holland. Holy crap. And it's written by Gillian Flynn, who did Gone Girl, so there you go.
Wow. Okay, I need to look up this movie. I haven't heard of this movie. I need to look it up because that all sounds like a perfect package to me. But thanks. But yeah, that's it. Thanks, Matt. And we will see everyone next time.
What line? What line?
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Okay.
Action.
What is line?